Witamy wszystkich bardzo serdecznie, gorąco w parafii Miłosierdzia Bożego. Jako gospodarz tego miejsca jest mi niezmiernie Państwa miło przywitać i jestem bardzo mocno też zaszczycony, że w tym miejscu, w tej parafii, tutaj w Manchester możemy celebrować poniekąd smutną rocznicę, ale także i ważną dla nas, Polaków, i nie tylko rocznicę 85. rocznicy zesłania Polaków w głąb Związku Radzieckiego. Kardynał Stefan Wyszyński mówił, że naród, który zapomina o swojej historii, skazany jest na zapomnienie, na zatracenie. My pragniemy tę historię pielęgnować. Pragniemy pamiętać o tym, co piękne, ale także o tym, co smutne. Pragniemy oddawać cześć i chwałę tym, którzy walczyli za ojczyznę, cierpieli za ojczyznę. Nasze hasło to mogłeś być Ty. Wystarczyło być Polakiem. Wystarczyło być Polakiem, mieć polskie korzenie, polską wiarę, polską mowę, polską tradycję i kulturę, żeby znaleźć się na tej haniebnej liście, żeby znaleźć się w tym transporcie, jak często mówimy, na ziemię nieludzką.
Witam Państwa bardzo serdecznie. Jest mi niezmiernie miło dzisiaj być tutaj z Państwem i razem z Wami przeżywać naprawdę wyjątkowe chwile. 85 lat temu Polska przeżyła jedną z najczarniejszych kart swojej historii. I choć na świecie, ucząc historii w szkołach, niewiele się o tym mówi, to my Polacy, zarówno ci w kraju rozsiani po całym świecie, pamiętamy o tym i wiemy, jak wysoką cenę zapłacił nasz naród w 1939 i 1940 roku, kiedy z jednej strony Niemcy, z drugiej strony Rosja nas zaatakowały. Jak trudna jest historia Polski i Polaków, najlepiej pokazuje życie państwa. Szczególnie tych, którzy tutaj się urodzili, albo przyjechali tuż po wojnie, dołączają do swoich rodziców. Ta droga, jaką nasi przodkowie musieli przejść, najpierw z nieludzkiej ziemi syberyjskiej przez całą Azję, Afrykę Północną, skończywszy na Wielkiej Brytanii, nie mogąc wrócić do Polski, która przez kolejne 50 lat nie była krajem wolnym, pokazuje, że wolność jest bardzo trudna, nie tylko do zdobycia, ale do utrzymania.
I'm Katie Carr and I am a singer-songwriter from Britain with Polish roots. I'm really delighted to be here on the 85th anniversary of the occasion for the Poles who were deported to Siberia by the Russians in 1940. My music is inspired by Polish history and mainly through the trauma that my family experienced during the Second World War. My grandfather was an Auschwitz prisoner. He was number 22661. And so my music has been inspired by those terrible events that Poland had to go through and the trauma that it inflicted on the people. And so hopefully I'm, through my songs, showing the forgotten voices of the Poles who experienced these tragic events.
Leśna brać, księżyc nasz ten za lasem.
So when I sing my songs, I experience a wide variety of emotions because obviously these topics have not been shared and so they are forgotten voices. So it's deeply moving for me to learn the songs like hymn Sybiraków, which tells the story of Poland's tragic journey through Russian aggression, and also Czerwone Maki na Monte Cassino. I mean, this is an incredible song. So the emotions are really, really important to feel, and, you know, as a Polish descent person, especially through my mother, you know, this is very, very poignant for me, and especially since my mother fought to have me born in Britain, in freedom. This is a very important thing to do.
takie wydarzenia jak dzisiaj pozwalają uczestniczyć Polakom mieszkającym na obczyźnie w naszej kulturze, pozwalają upamiętniać ważne wydarzenia, a dla wielu z tych osób ma to wymiar także osobisty, ponieważ ich rodzice, dziadkowie walczyli. Byli zsyłani na Sybir, walczyli w bitwie o Wielką Brytanię, walczyli za wolność Europy i takie wydarzenia jak dzisiaj pozwalają przypomnieć i uhonorować wkład tych wszystkich, którzy oddali swoje życie i zdrowie za wolną Polskę, wolną Europę.
So I prepared a whole repertoire of songs for this event tonight. The songs that would relate to by aggression, I think, as well as the deportation, because the songs that I'm singing are like Dziś do ciebie przyjść nie mogę, which is the partisan's lullaby, and tells the story of a lover who is left on the other side of the border and cannot go home to her lover. And so these songs really do mean a lot. And Czerwoni Maki na Monte Cassino is such an important song because the Polish soldiers who fought in Monte Cassino had experienced Siberia. I've also sang hymn Sybiraków, which is the most wonderful example of a song that explains all of Russian aggression nearly in those 3 or 4 verses.
Polska historia jest bardzo skomplikowana. Polacy, którzy mieszkają za granicą, czasem mają problem z dotarciem do źródeł tych wydarzeń, które nie są popularne za granicą. Ale wydaje mi się, że takie wydarzenia jak dzisiaj pomagają zainteresować młode pokolenia i zaszczepić w nich taką iskierkę zainteresowania, skąd się Polacy wzięli w Wielkiej Brytanii, jaka jest nasza historia, trudna historia i jakie wydarzenia w historii doprowadziły do tego, że tak liczna polska społeczność mieszka dzisiaj na Wyspach.
So this event is about remembering the Russian aggression in Poland, the Soviet invasion of Poland that so many people do not know about. They only know about the German invasion of Poland on the 1st of September 1939. So many people do not know about the 17th of September invasion by the Russians, the Soviet Union on the 17th of September 1939. And so I really would like to have left an impression on the community today about how important it is to remember the Siberian survivors, remember their voices, and remember the history connected with this and their terrible journey to what was just hell, being stolen from their homes, being stolen from their country, never to return home again. This is what Russia has inflicted on Poland, and my message through this event is really to share that with as wide an audience as possible and to show that Polish people are resilient. Polish people have kept their culture together and kept their history alive, and there shouldn't be anything to stop that. And people from Poland should be very, very proud of the rich history that they have. And the speakers and everyone who's been here is confirming how strong Polish people are. Niech żyje Polska niepodległa i Bóg, honor, ojczyzna.
Pamiętajmy o naszej historii i oddajmy cześć bohaterom, bo bohaterów mamy wielu, a czasem zapomnianych. I każde wydarzenie, które pozwala nam na oddanie honoru tym, którzy polegli bądź walczyli za Polskę, jest bardzo ważne dla zachowania naszej tożsamości.
A ile pan miał lat?
7.
7 lat. A gdzie pan mieszkał w Polsce?
Koło Baranowicz.
Tak.
Baranowicze, wschodnia, Wilejszczyzna,
Aha.
Nowogródzkie.
Tak. I pamięta pan, jak Rosjanie przyszli do drzwi?
Bardzo dużo.
Tak.
I w Syberię też wydałem książkę.
Tak.
Tak?
Aha, widziałam twoją książkę tutaj, tak. I powiedz, jaki pamięć miałaś, jak oni przyszli do drzwi NKWD?
No, bawiłem się. Wyciągnąłem swój karabinek i do żołnierza, a on do mnie karabin.
A powiedz nas, to był bardzo straszający moment dla ciebie, bo musiałeś zostawić twój dom, tak?
Nie, jakoś to było ciężko, ale życie nigdy nie wiadomo.
A kto poszli z tobą do Syberii? Kto było z tobą?
No, rodzice i siostra starsza, tak? Także na Syberię staliśmy w kolejce po chleb 15 minut, siostra 15 minut, ja. A oprócz tego wychodziłem z kolejki i tak Obijałem się, żeby nie zamarznąć. Łapałem ryby, miałem swoją kuchnię, ziele, lebiodę gotowałem na zupę. Było pięknie, jak z kartofla, była bardzo smaczna zupa.
A powiedz nas, jak było w pociągu? Pamięta pan?
Oczywiście,
Jak
na pryczy się nie działo. Nie było nic do roboty. I tak w pociągu było gorzej, bo pociąg nieraz stał w pustym polu 2-3 dni. Bez chleba, bez niczego przecież.
No, a powiedz nas, w tym pociągu ile ludzi było na jeden carriage?
Było chyba 40. Tak, mniej więcej tak. Raz mieliśmy pasażerski, to było nas 20 osób. Wagon pasażerski. To 20 osób było w środku.
Na ile czas był pan w Syberii?
Proszę?
Ile czas pan spędził w Syberii?
No, 2,5 lata. Na Boże Narodzenie 41 roku matka ugotowała cały sagon kartofli i mówi do nas, jedzcie ile chcecie. To było tak niezwykłe, że zjedliśmy kartofle na sanki i w podróż. 4 dni.
A po Syberii gdzie pan poszedł?
Afryka, przez Persję, Indię, tak, przez tyfus.
Pamięta pan generał Andes?
Ja go nigdy spotkałem dopiero po wojnie.
A pan teraz mieszka w Manchesterze?
Cały za Manchester.
Tak.
Teraz za Manchester.
Jesteś skarbem Polonii,
Tak.
bo nie ma drugiej takiej osoby.
Tak, to jest bardzo warto i jestem naprawdę pod wrażeniem, że mam okazję, żeby podzielić tę historię razem z Polonią i tę historię razem z ludźmi, którzy nie znają tego historii. To jest bardzo warte i bardzo mi brakuje takiej historii w tym społeczności. Ten historia jest prawie zapomniana, nie? Czyli to jest bardzo ważne. Mamy tutaj Sybiraków i to jest bardzo ważny moment dla nich, bo nie wiemy ile czasu mamy razem z nimi teraz, tak?
Porozmawiamy o pomniku, którego jesteś autorem. Powiedz proszę, co zainspirowało Cię do stworzenia pomnika lotników polskich?
Przede wszystkim fakt, że Polacy uczestnili w największej inwazji w historii świata. Pomnik nawiązuje do zwycięskiego lotu, do boju polskich lotników nad wybrzeżem Normandii podczas bitwy o Normandię, w lecie 1944. Idea pomnika powstała najpierw jako szkic i później rozwinęliśmy tę ideę w zespole z naszym konstruktorem w stalowni w Polsce, w Krakowie, gdzie został zbudowany. I przede wszystkim inspirowaliśmy się też niebem nad Normandią. I zależało nam, aby ten pomnik się błyszczył i oddał samoloty i moment, tak, żeby się odbił moment, nad którym samolot latał nad pomnikiem. To nie był zwykły projekt, to był projekt mojego życia. De facto mój pierwszy pomnik, który zbudowałem z inicjatywy prawdziwych lotników, rodzin Dywizjonu 303 tu w Anglii. I to naprawdę to było wielki moment, wielki privilegium móc robić taki pomnik. Zależało mi na tym, by ten pomnik nawiązywał do chęci, do przyjemności latania samolotami też, żeby inspirował młode pokolenia, przyszłe pokolenia. To pierwszy taki pomnik, który powstał w tej formie, znaku zwycięstwa. Jak wiadomo, polscy żołnierze nigdy nie maszerowali w paradzie w Londynie w 1946 roku. Nie uczcili zwycięstwo i ten znak powstał jako tak naprawdę taki testament. Uważam, że pamięć o polskich lotnikach dotarła także do Brytyjczyków, że często jak się spotka Brytyjczyka, to to cię pyta o polskich lotników, o polskich pilotów i to myślę, że nareszcie przebiliśmy lód. Mogłoby się uzupełnić różne wątki, lepiej przedstawić cały wkład Polaków w zwycięstwo nad III Rzeszą, jak i naszą rolę Polski jako najważniejszy sojusznik Wielkiej Brytanii podczas II wojny światowej, ale uważam, że Brytyjczycy już się naprawdę teraz dowiedzieli przez nas. Mamy dobre wiadomości. Muzeum Lotnictwa Polskiego w Krakowie zwróciło się do nas z prośbą i z zapytaniem, czy moglibyśmy zbudować replikę tego pomnika w Normandii i go odsłonić na 85. rocznicę bitwy o Anglię w tym roku.
Dzięki, to wielkie gratulacje. Fantastycznie, dziękuję Ci bardzo.
Dzięki.
Tonight it's an absolute pleasure and a privilege for me to be able to speak in front of a group of people that really understand it, they understand the enormity and the significance of the story. So, as Katie said, my dad came from what him was eastern Poland. It was a little village about 100 kilometres to the east of the city he knew as Vilna, a big cultural city. It was a region of lakes. It was the Polish Lake District at the time. He came from a little village called Szwajsty, which was just north of a huge lake called Lake Naroch. It's now Belarus, of course. And he was taken away in the autumn of 1939. His village was ethnically a Polish village. Most of the village suffered some sort of exile problems. My dad's family, though, he was the only one from his family that was taken away. He was 19. I think he might have been a partisan, and he was taken away by the Russians and exiled to Siberia. I know very little of my dad during that time. The earliest photo of him is sadly at his, next slide please, at his sister's funeral. He had three brothers. One of them he didn't know. He was born after my dad was taken away, so my dad never got to meet him. He had three sisters and two brothers. Sadly, one of his sisters died, and my dad's there in the middle at the back between the two ladies, and that's the earliest photo I've got of my dad. As I said, he was exiled to Siberia. He was actually exiled to a region that you probably know of. It's called Kolyma. It was right across to the east. It was typically an area that the career criminals of Russia were sent. We know that there was 25,000 or more Poles sent to Kolyma at that time, and we know that only 584 of those survived, my dad being one of them. Next slide, please. And I've even got his release document from the Gulags, which is a unique document, and you can see it's from the NKVD Eastern region. And when I was actually researching the book, I was contacted by somebody who was at Kolyma in those times, and he said by his son that if you find this picture in a book, it was called, I'm going to try and pronounce it, Kashka or Kolyma, it was the Book of Kolyma, written by a guy called Anatol Krakiewicz, a Polish author and poet. And in that book there is a picture of a group of Poles in Kolyma at the city of Magadan waiting after their release. If you go to the next slide, please. And I found the picture and I couldn't believe it because my dad immediately stuck out, and I could see my dad on the back row there of that book. So it was an amazing picture for me to find that. But he eventually found his way back across Russia through into Uzbekistan. He was just able to join Anders' army before they left. He was one of the few that were able to leave of the 115,000. My dad was one of those. So he was able to leave and go to Persia and then on to Iraq. He fought with the Polish Second Corps at Monte Cassino. He was a driver. And the picture on the left is a famous picture. It comes from a video actually. And I think it features on a book on Monte Cassino. And the guy in the middle with the forage cap, I believe, is my dad. And that's a picture of him driving his village jeep and his Monte Cassino cross. So very proud that my dad received those medals. And if you go to the next one, please. He was told never to contact his family again when he got eventually to England, and never had any contact at all with his family until the day he died. But after he died, and we had the advent of the internet and the fall of communism, we actually got in touch with the village where my dad had come from, and I was able to visit that village, which is now Belarus. His sister was still living in the same house my dad was taken away from. And there were villagers who remembered my dad, including this little old lady, Alexandra Curtin, she was called. And she remembers my dad and was telling me stories about my dad as a child, which was amazing to see. And she even referred to him by his nickname that I knew. And nobody ever referred to my dad by his nickname, so that was an amazing sight. So ever since then, like I said, I've been doing a talk. The first time I did the talk, it took 3 hours, so I've managed to get it down to about an hour.
So this is the odyssey of the Marzak family. It's going to be very rushed, as the previous speaker said, it would take an hour to go through this one. The Marzak family come from the village of Spatsev near Lublin. And it was here in 1897 that my grandfather was born, at a time when it was part of Russia. Previously, Spatsev had been part of Napoleonic France and Austria, and before that, Polish. So the First World War happened, and the partitioning powers collapsed, lost the war. Poland was back on the map. But in order to confirm its eastern borders, it had to go to war with Russia, and so we had the Polish-Bolshevik War. My grandfather, Stanisław, joined the 7th Ulan Regiment, and fighting near Rocznica, he got a shrapnel wound and was hospitalised in Dublin. The regiment carried on fighting and left him behind, and then Warsaw sent out a call for volunteers to defend the city from the Bolsheviks. So Stanisław ran off to Warsaw, joined the 240 volunteer lancers, and chased the Russians beyond Vilna. And for this, Poland won the war, and he was allotted land. Next. Okay, and along with about 22 of the lancers and officers, they formed the village of Łańska, which means something like Lancer's destiny. So if you go back again. Okay, and this is grandfather on his farm in Łańska, and this is my family. So we have my grandmother Maria, Auntie Irena, Uncle Leon, my father Jurek, Uncle Ted, grandfather Stanisław, and Babcia Karabina. And little Mike would come along some years later. Next. And this is he obviously kept in the reserve regiment. This is Stanisław on parade in Dubno, which was a nearby town. And in the bottom right-hand corner, taken from Łańska, you can see the lancers on horseback, which appears to be a kind of a May Day celebration. Next. This is top right-hand corner my father and his twin brother and a neighbour, Alabek. I mean, there's lots of stories around here about what happened. Bottom left is Leon on bursary training course nearby. But at this time, my father was in Poznan on the bursary, engineering bursary. And he was there when the Germans invaded. And he then had to get from Poznan, remembering that the Germans had bombed the railway lines to Warsaw. And he had to go through German soldier outfits to get home. Next. And so it was that the Russians invaded from the east and immediately started listing all the settler families. And from the Carter Index, we can see that my family were deported on the 10th of February 1940, and that they arrived at their resettlement camp, as the Russians call it, in Archangel some 3 weeks later. And that when they were released, they were released to go to Sorochinsk. And at the bottom, the Russian detail records exist, and they show that there was something like 230 trains on that day, all across the Cressy, and each train had about 23 carriages, each carriage containing about 58 persons on average. A total of 300,000 were deported on this one day. Right. So they then were sent to Spekpeshoa. So these weren't gulags, these were resettlement camps in very harsh conditions. And they existed all over Archangel. And both my mother's family were sent up here, and as did my father's family. The trains took them to Kotwas. At Kotwas they had to get off in the late winter, and they had to walk 100 kilometres along the Vishikta River to their settlement. Next. And my grandfather actually, in his wartime records, there are lots of reports that he wrote about his life at the settlement. And he describes it as being lice-ridden, and that the mortality rate was about 15% per year. Next. Okay, so this map now shows what happens to my family next. And we're going to concentrate on my father and his twin brother here. Previously, when Germany invaded Poland, a certain Major Matzek and the Black Brigade were putting up a stern resistance in the south of Poland. And they were preparing to defend the city of Lvov when Russia invaded. At that point, he was ordered to intern himself into Hungary. And the Hungarians were friendly to Poland, so they allowed the brigade to escape. And they then escaped across Yugoslavia, through Italy, which was neutral at this point, and into France. And in France, they regrouped, and the French sent them off to the front line, just at the time of the Dunkirk evacuations. And all of a sudden, this brigade finds itself in England. And the British sent Matzek and his brigade up to Scotland. In the meantime, we had an amnesty, and the Poles are free. So immediately, my father and his twin brother leave family, and with 7 other young men, head off to Sorochinsk to join the Anders army, that's being gathered there. As you all know, Anders and Stalin fall out, and Stalin says to Churchill, I think you better have the Polish army. They can go to the Middle East and protect the oil fields. So my father and they make their way down to Tashkent. In the meantime, Sikorsky says to Anders, Matzek in Scotland is 8,500 soldiers short of a division. Can you send there, plus any airmen and able seamen, to Scotland? So Dad and Leo are now being fast-tracked with 10,000 soldiers to Suez. They get onto the Mauritania, and the safest and established route to Scotland is via South Africa. So they find, next Dad finds himself in Pietermaritzburg for 3 months, and that's a picture of them marching outside the camp. And then the Churchill convoys, protected convoys, took them to Scotland, and they arrived in Scotland in November 42. The rest of the family, a month later, are heading down to Tashkent. I'll ignore that slide now because it's going down to Tashkent, and my auntie Renia, who's only 13, goes off to get some rations at one of the train stops. When she gets back to the platform, the train's gone. She's now lost in Russia and makes her way down to Tashkent, where a Russian family adopt her, and she stays there for 5 years. Uncle Ted joins the Carpathian division and is sent to Mosul. And my grandfather goes to Gadara in Palestine, which is now Israel. And there, the British send him into a hospital, and they remove the shrapnel wound that he got in the Bolshevik War 22 years earlier. And in November, he joins the 22nd Transport Company, which is the company of appointed there. So my father joins the General Matzek. He's now a general because it's a division, and he's in the 1st Tank Regiment. And the picture on the right is probably after the Battle of Falaise, where they're adding additional tank tracks onto the tanks to give them more protection. Next. This is a picture of the tanks after the tracks have been put on, and you can see my father and me are putting shells into the tanks, loading them all ready for the next battle. So they had two major massive battles. One was the Battle of the Falaise Pocket, the breaking out of Caen, where the Poles were the cork in the bottle to encircle the German 5th and 7th armies. And later on, in order to get to northern port, the port of Antwerp, they were involved in a massive battle, Battle of the Scheldt and the River Maas, to push the Germans out of the Rhine estuary. And in that, they liberated the city of Breda, who have been ever so grateful ever since. We even have Leo's tank driving license from that time, and it's interesting, originally it was due to expire in March 45, but the war went on beyond that, and in red he's got extensions on there. During the winter months in Holland, following the liberation of Breda, the army stood down and rested, and they were able to go and live amongst the local population. And the picture of Dad with the family that he and his tank crew stayed at, and as you can see, I mean, they must have been very trusting, because it was a family with 4 girls in it, putting up 5 soldiers. Next. In the spring, they ventured into Germany and heading for Wilhelmshaven, where the German Navy was. And they came across 15 slave camps, one of which was a camp that had 1,700 women who were in the Polish resistance from the Warsaw Uprising. And after the war, the division settled in this area for 2 years as peacekeepers, and this is where Leo met Krisha, and they married in Papenburg in the centre. Next. The brigade has been reformed in 1995. It exists now in Poland. We were there in August, and the commander of the 1st Tank Brigade gave us a ride on the Leopard 2 tank. And as you can see, it bears the same identifying number 51. And we unveiled a brand new statue to General Matzek, probably the only one where it shows his legs. Next. So Uncle Ted was in Mosul, sent a Christmas card in 42, and he joined the Carpathian Division under General Andes. Next. And he was a Beaufort crew member. And the picture in the middle I found interesting because it shows my father and my uncle Laurent, who were in the maths exam in Normandy, with Stanisław, my grandfather, and Uncle Ted. And I wondered, well, how could this be? And it was during a period in 46 after the war, and they were able to go on holiday at Windsor for the first time. Next. This is my grandfather Stanisław with his army records that show that he was part of Wojtek's company, and it shows Uncle Ted and grandfather at Monte Cassino after the battle. Next. Grandmother and little Mietek were sent to Africa to Kidugala. Next. And my mother and her younger sister were sent to Tenguru in Africa. And I think we have some people here from Tenguru, am I right? And show hands. Yeah. Any more from Tenguru? Tenguru. Yeah. Yeah. So lots of citizens were sent into the British colonies. Next. And in Tenguru there were grammar schools, there were the workshop, and here my mother learned to be a really good seamstress on the singer-sewing machine. Next. And eventually they would settle in England, in Manchester, first in Offside. Here they met Renia for the first time since she got lost. And the brothers would go on to create a company, Tabloid Productions, making handbags and employing a local Polish people. Next. And Dad and Leo and Uncle Ted lived into the 90s. Any excuse to wear the medals and berets and character standard, there they were.
I'm honoured, and it's a special moment for me to be here. I'm of Polish origin. I don't understand this room, and I was born in a non-English speaking country and in a non-Polish speaking country due to the history of my family, which escaped Poland from communism and from Krakow. My grandfather was an architect, so am I, and he escaped during an excursion of a communist architect group. He just left the train in Vienna and descended in Vienna. He wanted to go to Australia, but he decided finally to remain in Vienna, where he worked on some important projects. And my grandmother was from Grodno. She was a real Kresnjanka. And my sister-in-law, my ciocia, was a Sybirak as well. She was a Zesłaniec, ciocia Regina, and she always called me Rybenko, which is a Lithuanian way of saying, lovely, lovely nickname. So I will present you today the Polish Air Force Memorial in Normandy, a project my practice has designed for the Polish Air Force Memorial Committee in London. We won this project as a practice, and we brought it to life thanks to a great community of families of the pilots and the Institute of National Memory, IPN. Next slide, please, or let's start. So, Polish Air Force Memorial was built in 2019, and as an intergenerational project, a real cooperation between the veterans, the last living veterans, last living pilots, and our younger generation. The Royal Air Force was involved in the competition, as well as the Polish Air Force, who decided to choose an architect to design this memorial. Next slide, please. I will make a note to the involvement of the Polish soldiers in the D-Day landings, or in the Operation Overlord. But firstly, I would like to draw attention to the fact that if we talk about the Polish contribution to the Second World War, usually this is what we think about. The Polish pilots who made this incredible contribution towards the Battle of Britain. Very often it is forgotten that, and I thank George and Frank very much for the presentation, where the contribution made in other areas, in other theatres of war, is highlighted. It's not highlighted as much as the Battle of Britain, and I would like to make a note at the Polish contribution towards D-Day. Please, next slide. So we have just celebrated, we've just commemorated the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landings, and next slide, please. And I would like to make a little bit of history so that we better understand the Polish role in this operation. And the site of the landings was carefully chosen. It was the only sandy beach that was relatively let's say, compared to the other places in Calais. It was further away, but it was less defended. And please, next slide. The Normandy beaches were defended by the Atlantic Wall, a huge system that stretched from Norway down to the western coast of France, under the command of Hitler's favorite general, Erwin Rommel. He was well known to be a very hard nut, and in order to overcome the problem of this operation, of being uncovered before it even started, the Allies launched a deception campaign called Operation Fortitude, and they built numerous inflatable vehicles, planes, ships, and dispersed them around southern England to simulate a planned invasion. And Polish intelligence was involved, and it is worth to mention that one special Polish Air Force officer called Roman Czerniawski, whose code name was Brutus, he was actually a double agent. He was caught in France, misled the German secret services by passing on wrong information, by passing on the information that landing would take part in Calais, and he did that even when D-Day was already underway, from a very modest, simple place, from his little apartment in Richmond. And we can see the Allied deception campaign. I'm sure many of you know this history. So the Germans waited in the wrong place. Hitler was in his bed when the invasion started, and an Allied flotilla left England on course, to set course for Normandy from the 5th to the 6th. Next, please. And the success hinged on a very critical first 24 hours. So, and you cannot, thank people like Roman Janowski enough for the job he did there. And I would like to also mention that thanks to the bravery and the full might that the Allied forces unleashed in Normandy, we can now live in a free world, and it is very important that we keep on remembering that. That is one picture of Omaha Beach. The patch on the right-hand side was very symbolic, has a very symbolic meaning. It's this is the sword of David. It's almost biblical. Yeah? So the Allies. The idea was actually went on a crusade. That was Supreme Commander's actually conviction that it was more than just invasion. It was a real crusade to free Europe and liberate Western Europe. Next, please. So the landings were very difficult at Omaha Beach. They were perhaps less difficult in other sectors, like Juneau, where the Canadians landed, or Sword Beach. There were the British forces landed at Gold Beach, and at the end of the day, we call it the longest day, the flotilla hit the coast, and supplies were brought on land. There I would like to make a note. Let's touch on the role of the Polish Navy. All Polish ships, apart of one, were involved in the D-Day operation. There was only one ship that was left in England. This is a picture of ORP Krakowiak. Sorry, not so fast, but okay. Well, we know the next one already. The merchant navy, the Polish merchant navy, was involved, fully involved as well, and provided vital supplies for the Allied soldiers. And my granduncle Kazimierz Witkowski from Nowy Sącz, he was one of the merchant sailors on Statek Poznań. And so the memory stays with us. He sailed on all convoys, and he visited countries in South America, and he came home in snake leather shoes from Brazil. So the contribution of the Polish land forces towards D-Day, well, the most important things were already said by George and Frank. Well, I would like to highlight here one of the first DP, Pierwsza Dywizja Pancerna soldiers, Piotr Juralewicz. He was from Kresy as well, Lithuania today, and he was deported to the Soviet Union, to Kazakhstan, and forced to work Sorry, Katie, you're a bit too fast. So he joined the Polish 2 Corps in Novosibirsk, and he also fought in all-important. He went on land with the Polish DP and fought in all-important battles. Battle of Falaise, the Falaise Pocket, the Dutch cities, and So there were very large numbers of dispersed Poles from the eastern parts of Poland, the exiled Poles, who joined the first DP, and I thank you very much for commemorating them. So, this picture is an incredible picture. Even if you look at it today, you could see the combat, the fight between Polish and desperate German, almost desperate German fanatic forces, barrel to barrel. Polish DP, Polish Divizja Pancerna, 5 meters from a German Panther tank. Incredible. And the Battle of Falaise Pocket was one of the most bloody battles, equally terrible and like these. Okay, so here Katie goes faster. She runs already. Okay, so the outcome of the battle we know: liberation of France. 7 days after the Battle of Falaise, where the Poles corked the bottle. And here we go to, let's touch now finally on the role of the Polish Air Force. It is often forgotten that it's an unknown story, that the Polish Air Force provided low cover for Allied forces landing on the beach sectors, Sword Beach, Gold Beach. And the project for the memorial actually helped us to recover this history, and there are some incredible stories. This graphic shows, it is from a Canadian archive I discovered. It shows the order of the battle of the Allied Air Forces on D-Day. So you can see the 131st Polish Wing, 302, 308, 317, they were flying over the beaches at 6:30 in the morning. And this is also a very valuable picture because it's the 133rd Polish Wing. And sorry, Katie, could you go back? And it shows one squadron that is not a Polish one. Guess which one? It's the first in the row. 129th Squadron. It was a British squadron, an RAF squadron, put under Polish command. So the Polish pilots were so excellent that the British trusted them and put British squadron under their command. That shows really deserves to be highlighted and remembered. There we see some pictures from the D-Day missions. Skalski flew as well, and they escorted Allied gliders. Next one, please. And here we come finally to the Polish Air Force Memorial. I'm happy to share some pictures with you. It was initiated in London. Papers were signed at the Battle of Britain bunker with the mayor of Hillington and with the French delegation. Next one, please. The location is very well chosen. It is next to Sword Beach. You can literally see the sea, the coastal line from there. Next, yeah, okay. So the town that was chosen is called Plumto. And Plumto is important because it became the first hub, the first airport where the Polish Air Force set their wings back on the ground. So when we went to Normandy this year, the inhabitants of Plumto welcomed us with a banner. This Plumto, while the landing ground was built during the invasion, you can see the landing ground on the left, and sorry, Katie.
Sorry, we're in a lovely question about this.
Yes, okay. So, okay, thank you so much. The memorial was built in the heart of Normandy, next to Pegasus Bridge, which is just 10 miles away, and next to Kilmilly, the famous Scottish bagpiper. It commemorates the 131st Polish wing that's stationed there during the Battle of Normandy, and the station received 3 Polish squadrons: the 307, City of Poznań, 308, City of Kraków, and 317, City of Vilna, which is very important for us because it is a crossover. It is a squadron where many pilots from the eastern parts of Poland served, and it was also flying under the command of Skalski. The place where the memorial was built is also the first site where the 303 squadron returned to Europe. It marked the return of the 303 squadron, and a holy mass was held in Planto to pray for Poland's freedom and victory. And so 1,000 Polish airmen stationed in Planto was a very important effort because it allowed the Polish fighter squadrons to fly missions deep into France, strafing German tanks, destroying 600 vehicles. And the memorial was inspired by Sir Winston Churchill's favorite victory sign. I decided to choose this symbol because of the fact that the Polish army, or the Poles, were denied the moment to march in the victory parade, and this is a good reminder to actually. That's how Poland could commemorate. Sorry, you're really fast. Yes, okay, we are almost at the end. Okay, we decided to build the memorial in Kraków because one of the squadrons is from Kraków, the 08, and we worked together with the foundry in Kraków and sculpted windswept the Spitfire planes there. And this shows us, this is Katie, you're already in Normandy back, so the works went incredibly fast. The memorial was built just in 6 months, and when the big day came, we were not able to realize that it was actually finished. And the memorial arrived on a lorry. It was carried through Germany. I wonder how that went down with them. And this shows the big, with the Polish flag, of course. We signed with the Polish flag, traveling through Germany. So the day of the unveiling came was D-Day +3 in 2019. And this picture shows the memorial fully unveiled. A call of honor was sent to the Polish Air Force, and a fly past took place. Spitfire 317 flew over the memorial. These are some impressions of the construction, which is a steel construction. Over 1,000 hours of polishing went into it. The memorial was published by the official program next to Omaha. Sorry, Katie, this is so nice that you...
We really have to stop.
Yeah, 1 second, sorry. I just wanted to say something. Okay. Yeah. I would like to finish here, actually, with the sentence. Do you allow me to read it? Okay. It's great if you have a wife that is looking after you. Yeah. And after you. If Poland had not taken our side in those days, the flame of freedom could be extinguished like a candle in the wind. Thank you.
Na koniec wiem, że spieszymy się już na mszę. Chciałbym podziękować księdzu Karolowi za goszczenie nas tutaj dzisiaj i za umożliwienie tej wspaniałej uroczystości. I przede wszystkim Katie Carr za przygotowanie takiego wspaniałego programu i za dzisiejszy występ. Brawo!
Jestem naprawdę pod wrażeniem i każdy Polka uwielbia kwiaty, no to bardzo dziękuję i dziękujemy bardzo na Twoją twórczość i że mogliśmy podzielić tę bardzo straszną historię i dać te głosy from the past. We would like to remember the voices of the past that never got a voice. So thank you very much for being here and remembering this very tragic history that must never be forgotten. Thank you very much for being here.
Wyspa TV is a multicultural television from Great Britain. It is reported from many regions, debates with exciting people, talks with experts and many other programs. Wyspa TV. Welcome.